The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Man charged for the 2020 homicide of 3 Venezuelans. 1 year after 3 Venezuelan nationals were erased in a house fire in St. James, a 26-year-old man has been charged with their demise. Even though Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Roger Gaspard had given the directive to homicide investigators since October 31 to lay the charges against Shaquille Paris, this was not done until Thursday. The reason for the delay, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service TTPS said, was COVID-19 restrictions at the prisons. Paris of Upper Dewey Road, Long Circular, was in prison custody for other matters currently engaging the attention of the court, the TTPS said in a statement. He was charged with the demise of Luis Santiago Figuera, Celso Andrade Cedino, and Flor Leal Garcia. Paris appeared virtually before Magistrate Maureen Babulal Gafour in the Port of Spain court and was remanded into custody. He is to reappear in court on January 13. The offences with which he is charged took place during the early morning hours of December 8 last year at Long Circular Road, St. James. Around 2:15 a.m. on that day, Western Division officers responded to reports of loud explosions, and upon their arrival at the location, found a house engulfed in flames. Fire officers were called in, and after they extinguished the flames, found the charred remains of the 3 people. Region 1 homicide officers launched an investigation that was supervised by Inspector Lynch and Mongrou. They received assistance from their colleagues of the Western Division's Cybercrime Unit and the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, the TTPS said. The charges were laid by Sergeant Ramsmere of the Region 1 Homicide Bureau of Investigations. Government set to withhold the salaries of unvaccinated workers. Unvaccinated government employees have been given a choice between getting vaccinated against COVID-19 or losing their salaries. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has set a deadline of mid-January for unvaccinated public sector workers to get inoculated, or they will not be allowed to return to work. The Prime Minister made the announcement during a news conference at the Diplomatic Center in St. Anne's yesterday. He, however, said this is not a vaccine mandate, but rather a move to make government offices into safe zones. The Prime Minister said the decision was prompted by the high number of daily COVID-19 deaths and infections. His announcement came as the country observed its deadliest day of the pandemic to date, with 33 new deaths recorded yesterday. We have come to the point where the government will have to take certain actions, Rowley said. I have had extensive discussions with the Attorney General and his support team in the ministry and his advisors outside, and we will now move to a situation of insisting that people in Trinidad and Tobago acknowledge the government's policy that vaccination is our best way of dealing with the carrier of death and destruction. But we'll try to make it as palatable as possible. We will attempt to encourage and increase the level of vaccination. The government being the largest employer of labor, so the government's workplace is going to change, the Prime Minister said. It is the intention of the government, come mid-January, to insist that the government's workplace will require vaccinated workers. We will put things in place to identify such status. Rowley said exemptions will only be made for people who have medical reasons to not get vaccinated. He said those who choose not to be vaccinated will still be employed but will not be paid. The Prime Minister said he expected the private sector to follow suit. He expressed disappointment with the low level of vaccination in some areas of the public sector. He noted that just 50% of the staff of the Tobago Regional Health Authority was vaccinated, while at the North Central and Northwest Regional Health Authorities it was 48 and 45% respectively. In the police service, 49% of the workers are vaccinated, with even lower numbers in other areas of national security. The prison service has a vaccination rate of just 35%, and only 30% of the defense force has been vaccinated. Meanwhile, immigration is at 25% and the fire service is at 20%. These are government employees who for some reason decided they are not going to take part in the national program to protect the national population from what in effect is a killing virus, Rowley said. The Prime Minister said he anticipates there will be many responses to the new policy, but opposition to the policy would not necessarily change the government's decision. Let all those responses be grounded in the fundamental argument that there is a pandemic taking place in the world. People are dying by the millions. People are dying by the tens per day. Our average here is about 1 per hour in Trinidad and Tobago. And if we don't intervene, the outcome is one of delinquency. A government cannot accept delinquency in a pandemic, and nobody ever said it was going to be easy. Nobody ever said it was going to be painless. What we've always said is that we will do what is required to be done to bring all of us out of this as best we could, he said. The Prime Minister also announced that from December 24 to January 2, public sector workers, excluding those in the essential services, will be allowed to stay away from their workplaces. He urged unvaccinated public sector workers to use this time to get vaccinated. Asked whether the vaccination requirement applies to teachers and members of parliament, Rowley said it applies to all workers on the government's payroll. Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi said government has done its research and legislation to support the public sector vaccination policy, and it will be taken to Parliament in January. We have looked at constitutional-industrial relations, the general public health dynamics. We've looked at laws and judgments coming out of multiple jurisdictions around the world, literally. We have had umpteen pieces of advice on this, and I have taken the caution of having discussions with my colleagues, attorneys general from many countries around the world. So we have done a lot of homework in relation to this. This is not something that is just a snap decision, he said.